Everybody, we're going to be starting pretty soon. Please take your seats. We'll be starting momentarily. Please take your seats. Thank you all very much for coming out to Piqued number 6. We'll be featuring Need for Storms and N.0 tonight. Got some lively bunch here tonight. Yeah, we put on a good show here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out to Piqued tonight. This is Piqued number 6. I'm your MC, Corey Luna, and Piqued is a meetup for electronic music makers and enthusiasts. On AV, we have Rich Hogben. We are hosted at Supply Frame here in San Francisco. Tonight, we're going to be featuring 2 musical artists. We've got Need for Storms and N.0. Each artist will play for about 15 to 20 minutes on their choice. Afterwards, we'll do a Q&A with audience participation. I'll bring a mic around for everyone to ask questions. Without further any ado, I would like to introduce Need for Storms.
Might talk decom on it. Okay, we can turn the tape recorder off. Decom, fine. Why you don't need the tape recorder. See, next now. Let's get it off. Yes, they be already off, but that's one thing we don't need. Go down the list as much of that intro stuff we can get, like. I think that's about the one thing right there. Yes, I don't think we let them turn the power amp off. We'll get out of there, right? Capcom, fine. Go. It's also verified tape recorder's off base. Okay, I don't think we got down that far on the list. We went to the VMAX, then light, VMAX and light, and then it stopped right there. Yeah, that's fine. We'll skip the sensor and land a checkpoint right now? It only takes a minute. I guess I'll have to if we need it for you. Go ahead. Yeah, I think it'd be good to get a checkpoint. Go ahead. Ecom, have you deduced anything? Have you seen your reactant valves go off? Have you seen flow cease? Can't tell, point. Yeah, they're open circuited. And the pressure. Still good. Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't he get a barber pole when he turns the reactants off? Even with the circuit breaker open? No. Okay, so he ought to know that. His purifier shut off. Okay, all my controllers, I suggest you start changing over because I think I'm pressing you probably better than anywhere. The rest of this can continue working in some other function in support of the new team coming on. Go off thrust your A4 flight. Okay? Go off thrust your A4. Omni Charlie. Okay. Okay, Jack, bring it in for us. Victory. Okay, got it. That's it. Don't see any more. I just turned it off. You want it on again? Yeah, no, leave it off. Great. Off? Yeah. Okay. Camera's off? Yep. Hey, how can you beat that? Jeez, we just went into the Terminator right in time. Okay, let's get the spacecraft back on even keel again. Here's this thing.
Need for Storms, everyone.
Hi,
Dorian, thanks for coming out and playing tonight.
thank you for having me.
Tell me a little bit about your set tonight, and specifically, I really want to hear about the drums you were doing.
So I'm not using that many loops, but the drums are definitely loops. I wrote those in Superior Drummer. So the way that I compose this stuff is just, I'll practice, with the modular or something like that, record that out, and then in Logic, I'll just sit there and write some drums to it, and then it's super iterative after that. Like, oh, this isn't working, I'll go back and tweak it or something. I still haven't quite figured out a better workflow for that, but yeah, I really like the sound of acoustic drums, even though it's, that kind of stuff is all, it's recorded and all that stuff, but I like that sound. So.
Now, and tell me about the interface, the Electron you're using in conjunction with everything.
So the whole setup is there's the there's the modular, and then it goes, there's an effects loop. The beginning, is an effects loop. And then the Electron is really just kind of acting as a looper. So you have into the Electron, there's 3 loops that I'm going, so I'll usually just kind of trigger these loops, and they're pitch shifting, they're adding distortion, just ways of expanding something that's already being played through the modular. That kind of comes from, I used to be a guitarist, and I like loopers, I like, what you can do with that, and then kind of getting this chorus of all these loops going on. But it's all, it's without it being these all pre-recorded things. So.
And tell me about the concept you have for this piece. I know that a lot of your work comes from emotion.
So this one is more of a, I just wanted to make something that sounded cool. I don't know. So a lot of times whenever I write stuff at home, if I'm working just purely in Logic, it's really just hello, that wasn't me. But still the same set. A lot of times it's I'll write a story or something like that and then compose to that because I need something to write to. So at the end of the day, there's this high-minded thing that I'm trying to do with it or something, but I really don't need to tell anybody because honestly, if they like it, they like it. If they don't, then cool, awesome. But for this one, it was really just trying to make something that kind of played in front of people, and hopefully it did.
I think it came out extremely well, and you had the entire audience transfixed.
Thank you.
Now, can we take some questions from the audience for Dorian today?
I'd love to know how you planned and implemented transitions in your work.
There's a lot of volume writing. I actually don't know how to do, I've seen some people do really, really creative things with the transitioning from, if they're playing multiple tracks or, trying to put together a 20-minute set. That was essentially 3 pieces. I'm honestly just kind of fading between them, and luckily there's these droney bits that sound okay when you fade between them. It's really just kind of keeping everything in one key, and just hopefully it kind of worked. The little rings bit, the little poppy bit at the very end, that was really just kind of converting, a melodic rings line, kind of using noise to kind of modulate it and make it into a drum piece, and then fading back into something more melodic. And it's really just about being this, soft with it as possible rather than these hard transitions.
Something that I noticed from your set is how prepared you are. Tell me a little bit about how much you thought about this before you got here tonight.
It took me about 2 weeks to write it. I'm pretty jealous of the people that can just I jammed this weekend and came out with gold. I can't do that. And especially because I am also incorporating all these other loops, the drum parts, I'm going to this entire other computer world to write that stuff and make sure that works. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of preparing. As far as just kind of how it all came about, I do the jam thing as much as I can. And then like I said, I will bring that into Logic, re-loop stuff, see what works, see what doesn't. And then I'll usually record it and then share it with friends and kind of get their take on it. And then usually by the time that I perform it, it's pretty different from when I was first even happy with it. Just because the more you play this stuff, the more familiar you get with it, and hopefully not make so many mistakes.
I think it came out extremely well, and it really feels, the entire piece feels very well rehearsed and cohesive.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Yes.
Hey, yeah, I thought it sounded really great too. It was awesome. I want to know, was everything running through the QPass or just some stuff, or what was going through the QPass, I guess?
Well, so everything's actually more linear than it looks. At the end of the day, what do you mean by QPass? I'm sorry.
Is that that new make noise? Is that what it's called? The filter?
Oh yeah. It's basically a post effects. You can use it in so many different ways, but yeah, everything is running through that.
Everything's going through that. It sounded so cool. Stereo field was you guys' sound system is awesome. It sounds so good.
Yeah, no, everything's running through.
We turned it up.
I made them turn it up. So the at the end of the day, it's the QPass in the rings is a post-effects chain before the octatrack, and then the real post-effects chain, which is the 3 pedals on top. So it's drowning in reverb and all that stuff, which is pretty cool. I did forget to turn all that stuff down when the drums came in. So it was like, oh crap. But
Yes.
Are you ever tempted to route the octatrack back into the Eurorack and try to like ride that dragon?
I really, really want to. I can't figure out how to do that though, because I'm using, the only way I can figure out how to make kind of an effects loop from the octatrack is using the Q output, and I'm using that to record all my loops. And there's a couple times when I actually changed, what's being recorded, either direct from the Eurorack or other loops, kind of resampling. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of already using that feature. But yeah, I really want to do that. It's kind of a dragon to ride though, so.
Hi, speaking of riding the dragon, could you talk a little bit about your octatrack slide guitar solo? That was particularly compelling.
And that was the one part, there was no Eurorack involved in that. That was a bass guitar line that I wrote like 3 years ago, I think, and just, again, drowning in reverb and a lot of, shimmer stuff. And that is about a 3-minute long loop. And on top of that, it's in the key of A. So I realized the octatrack has a resonator, and through all the crossfading stuff, you can just pick all the notes and just kind of do this little kind of like slinky line through it. And it's like, originally I was going to try to be like, actually play it like a little keyboard thing, but it wasn't quite working. I kind of like the slinky bit anyway. So, but yeah, that was totally no Eurorack at all in that. So.
Beautiful set. Thank you for playing.
Thank you.
Question about your guitar pedals and how they're implemented. You said the top 3, the Strymons, are on the end of everything, but the other ones are in a loop. Or explain that, please. Also, for the Q out, have you ever thought about using a 1/4-inch headphone splitter that goes from 1 to 2, so you could just send one out to maybe split it that way to send it back into the modular?
Talking about riding a dragon, man. That's that'd be pretty intense. We could definitely try. So the pedals are, the top 3 are the end of the chain. So that's going directly, I've got this little recorder here, and that goes into the mixer, and that's what you're hearing. How many pedals is it? 5 pedals in the bottom. That's an effects loop that is going to, there's like an effects loop module over there. Yeah, so that's one place, and actually in this one, I mean, it's not super obvious, but all the voices and everything, it's all being processed by that. I usually try not to do that. What I want to do is actually build like this custom DIY board that would allow me to like swap out pedals on the fly and kind of make a little modular setup that way, and then say like, okay, and then have multiple effects loops. And it's like, okay, cool, distortion on this one, and like the Therme pitch shifty bit on this other voice and stuff like that. But I haven't explored that yet.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience tonight for Need for Storms? Yes.
So you do a lot of this post-processing, a lot of effects and all of that. And I want to hear a little bit more about your thinking with that, and specifically like how do you do so much but not end up with mud?
I don't know, because honestly, like I don't get to hear it through these big systems, so it's kind of luck, to be honest. I don't know. I kind of got into this stuff. I'm a guitarist and I like guitar pedals, but when you play guitar, you have this piece of wood in front of you, and I play this note, and that's what I play. And then when you kick on a pedal, you're not over there, unless you're like in a shoegaze band or something, you're not there twisting stuff all the time. But I wanted to do that. So all the pedals are, like I'm writing them as much as I can, kind of taming them when I need to. I mean, there's definitely times when it, if I had left that reverb at the end on, it absolutely would have just been mud. And then you try to pick the pedals for the job. Some of them, like there's a couple that I didn't kick on at all because it's like I kind of liked how the bass was going, and that would kill the bass because it's just what it does. So yeah, I guess I don't have a good answer. It's total luck. I wish I was that. I wish I was really, really thought about it and like that analytical about it. But it's total luck.
Maybe you just have great taste.
What?
As maybe you just have great taste.
Well, I appreciate it.
You mentioned that you start writing from a narrative place. So you'll construct a narrative, and then you're writing on top of that narrative. Then you go through a highly iterative process to get to whatever the finished version of the piece is. For you, so it's obviously extremely well considered, whether that be through your exceptional taste or skill that you're not telling us about. But to your ear, like, what are you listening for to know when you're satisfied with where a piece is? Is it still connected to that initial narrative, or have you kind of let go of that by the time you get to the end of writing something like this?
For a performance, it's like the narrative's gone. And actually, more specifically for this one, there was no narrative. Usually when I try to write something, like I write these like long flowing ambient pieces that, you know, total background stuff. But in those, in order to get something that's interesting, to me, it's not enough just to go like, oh, that's pleasing. You know, I like that timbre there. Okay, we'll make that work. But I like to have like a story in my head that I'm narrating to. I have a friend that like runs a D&D campaign, and I want to like score this thing so badly. Because again, it's about telling stories. You know, I work in an industry that's all story based.
That could be a night here.
We could do it, yeah. Careful. So yeah, at the end of the day, for this one, it was just kind of jamming to see what worked, which is, you know, I said that I don't do that, but for playing something live, I don't really know how I'd perform the other ambient stuff and make it interesting and make it so you've actually got some influence over it. Because I mean, there's really nothing wrong with it, but I don't like to just hit play and like bring in scenes and, you know, I want to be doing something with it. So maybe like a Max MSP patch or something like that, but yeah, I mean, when doing this stuff, it's really just about like how can you stay engaging and make something sound interesting. The time that I finally just was like, I really like modular is when I fed, like I have the woggle bug, which is like they have a couple noise outs. If you feed that into the filter resonance, it sounds really fucking cool. And you can play with that. And it's, yeah, I was hooked. Because again, that's interest, and at the same time, you don't have to do that much. So you're concentrating on other things, is what I'm saying.
Well, thank you, man. Any other questions from the audience? Well, Dorian, I want to thank you again very much for playing tonight. I really enjoyed your set. I think everybody here really enjoyed your set tonight. Everybody, let's hear it again for Need for Storms.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it. Well, before we roll for initiative, we're going to take a little break over here, and we'll be coming back with M.0.